Hey guys, welcome to another episode of About Ukraine, and today is May 1st and it's the holiday in the Soviet circles. But today I thought I'll take an opportunity to explain what's going on in Ukraine, the situation around Ukraine, what's been happening there recently. So it's already more than 2 months into this war, and it seems like Ukraine lost or will lose 10 to 15% of its population due to migration, internal migration, migration from the country. Ukraine is also seeing a 50% GDP loss, and that is a huge hit to Ukraine. I mean, that essentially means that Ukraine is on life support right now. Virtually every activity that's happening in Ukraine it deals with the war effort. I mean, you do have some exporting and importing going on to support the civilian population, but the vast majority of the economy is geared towards the war. You also have to understand that Russia has occupied like a third of Ukraine so far. It's like almost the size of Romania, right? And in that area, they're putting Russian rubles into circulation. They're opening Russian versions of like grocery stores. They want people to feel like they're in the Soviet Union. They're also rounding up Ukrainian into filtration camps, and then they sort of distribute them based on what kind of risk they pose to Russia. Like if you're associated with the military or you're a journalist, you're going to get much harsher treatment, maybe even torture or prison. But the good news is that Ukraine is getting a lot of money and resources, getting a lot of arms from the Western countries, and in many cases it seems like it's coming in like a sea of arms and resources, so it seems like logistics is the only real limiting factor to this. But things are not going so well for Russia either. They're trying to overexert its economy to compensate for the losses that they've been having. They're also fighting a war of attrition because they've sort of hit a stumbling block when it comes to mobilization. They really cannot go massive mobilization in Moscow and like St. Petersburg because they risk upsetting the public there, the general public. So far they've been getting their conscripts from the Far East, and it seems to be working, but I think they've hit a limiting factor there as well. And it also seems to me that Russia's on track to really lower the standard of living of the population. I mean, it means like no access to imported goods, no access to top-notch medical care. Essentially, they want to reduce the population to how the North Koreans live. Well, how do we expect things to unravel in the next week or two? Well, Russia really loves these cool dates, and they love their May 9th parade, which is an annual parade celebrating their military and the victory over World War II. It is possible that Russia will set its sights on Mariupol and Odesa if they can get Mariupol in their hands. I mean, getting Odessa would mean separating the Ukraine from the Black Sea completely, and that would make Ukraine a landlocked country, essentially. But let's talk about Mariupol for a second. Mariupol is a port city on the coast of the Azov Sea in southwestern Ukraine. It's been under siege for a long time now, for I think 2 months. It seems that there are around 1,000 Mariupol citizens and hundreds of injured in the Azov steel plant on Mariupol. And there's no way to get to them, and there's no independent, verifiable sources that will tell you what's going on there. So unfortunately, it seems that they're gonna die, especially the injured. They're likely gonna die of their injuries. I mean, it seems that way. I mean, so we need to remember to keep the people of Mariupol in our prayers. Anyway, if Russia succeeds completely taking over Mariupol, it will give them a land bridge to Crimea, essentially letting them control this whole area uninterrupted. Well, what about Odessa? Well, Odessa is a little bit more tricky because it's on a huge swath of land that is very fiercely defended. What the West wants to do, it wants to keep Odessa within its grasp. It wants to make sure it doesn't fall to Russia. Incidentally, it's also Russia's objective. But Odessa is a massive, it's the main port of Ukraine. It will be crucial not to win the war, but to rebuild Ukraine as well. I mean, the majority of things go to port through Odessa. It's not like you can like substitute that by just running more trains to Poland or just having more trucks go to Poland. So I'm sure that all the Western leaders are doing everything that they can, everything in their power to keep Odessa in Ukraine. But having said all that, time is not on Russia's side. It's crucial for Russia to sort of get Ukraine to agree to a peace deal and sign on the dotted line before it's too late. But in order to do that, Russia has to win on the battlefield, which is questionable at best. But even if they do that, Russia also has to convince the West to push Ukraine on a peace deal, and that is also questionable at best. And then Ukraine also has to accept that peace deal, which is not very likely, as you can see. But I think in the end, if Ukraine is willing to sit it out and the West is willing to sit it out, I don't think Russia has a chance here. If Russia doesn't get ground down militarily first, they'll get ground down economically second. Anyway, so these are my thoughts on the subject of what's going on right now, and let me know what you think, and leave your comments, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Take care.